Looks like meat is back on the menu, boys. The Orks are back, and we have some exceptionally exciting news. Orks are, in my opinion, ooh, at least in the top three for the biggest winners of this data slate. It's possible they're the biggest winner. And some of these changes are a little subtle, and some of these changes are freaking huge. And we're going to talk about all of them right now. If you're excited for the Orks, hit the like, hit the subscribe, share with your friends, because I've got the good stuff. Let's get into it. Are Orks the best now? No, they're not. I don't think they're the top army in the game. But man, these guys are available for crumping, and I think there's no feel bads. Previously, what was happening is that our Orks just had bad rules, but we had too cheap units. Our units were too cheap. Some of our units went up in cost a little bit, as they should have. And I think we all knew the War Boss was going to go up, right? I mean, he's been 65 points since the beginning of the edition, and every list has basically always been running two of them. Oh, yeah, I'm rocking the Waaagh shirt right now. You better believe it. Every single list has been rocking 2 to 3 of them since the beginning of 10th edition. So it's freaking time. Yeah, he had to go up by 10 points. No big deal. So did the War Boss and Mega Armor. That was a little surprising, to be honest with you, but I don't care. Because let's talk about the buffs that we freaking got. We got new data sheets. We got a new reworded army rule. We got new reworded detachment rules. Guys, I can't wait to get into all this. So let's just, without further ado, here we go. What's the biggest change? The biggest change is the Waaagh in the command phase, and it specifically lasts until the next start of your command phase. This is world changing. Basically, what happens now is in 50% of your games, you still get to use your army rule, whereas previously we couldn't. If you're an Ork player, you've run into the problem of, oh, well, I went second, but I have to declare my Waaagh at the beginning of the battle round, which means my opponent has an entire turn just to back up and say, screw it. You don't get to use your army rule this turn. And it was abusive, and it was horrible, and it just made 50% of the games feel like garbage. We have the Waaagh in the command phase. This is game-changing, and I freaking love it. Little warning, it does mean you got to be, if you're one of those psychopaths who likes to Waaagh in the first turn, it does mean you got to be a little more careful with your deployment, because you can't, but beginning of the battle round, defensively Waaagh. So that's gone, which I'm totally fine with. So I'm just trying to warn those of you who were doing that. It just doesn't work anymore. This opens up wildly new tactical choices of whether we go first or second, and this is freaking awesome. It means our opponent can't just predict when the Waaagh will happen. It means that we have a lot more ability to keep the Waaagh in reserve, because our opponents have to be scared of it now. This is awesome, and I'm so excited to be able to start running the boys again. All right, this was the big change. Now, what was another big change? Actually, there's two new huge data sheet changes that we got to talk about. One's just a completely new data sheet, and that is the Breaker Boys. Now, these dudes are freaking awesome, and I'm really excited to break them down. They give us a new, super interesting unit that gives us something that we previously did not have access to. It's a 6-man squad, 1 knob, and 5 Breaker Boys. They're all T5, 2 wounds, 4 armor saves. They're knobs. That's what they are, right? But they have a very specific weapon. Their weapon is 2 attacks each with weapon skill of 3, strength 6, AP2, which is good because we need more AP2, but it's not damage 2, it's damage 3 in it. Damage 3. And it has the keyword for anti-monster vehicle 4 up. I adore this. This is so freaking good. It gives us a lot of things that we were previously missing. I got to be honest with you. That damage 3 is such a freaking big deal that man, it's just awesome. It's just awesome. And of course, they're Ork infantry. They have the grenades keywords. They have all that good stuff. Now, one model in the unit is going to be able to take a tank hammer, which is the same profile as a smash hammer, but it has dev wounds, which means you get to start spreading out some of those flat 3 dev wounds against those really big, tough vehicles and monsters. That is awesome. That just freaking rocks. Like, I don't know what else to tell you. It's so useful. These guys can really come in and they can help us hammer through some of those things that we just don't deal with very well. Land raiders with armor contempt. Boom. Psh, poof. You happen to roll good on your wound rolls, and then suddenly you just deal 9 freaking dev wounds to it. Because don't forget, when you go in the Waaagh turn, you're going to go up to 3 attacks each, strength 7 on these things. They can be led by any person or any model that can lead a boys unit. So you can lead them with a weird boy to teleport them around. No problem. Oh, they also have just so you know, they also have bomb squigs. Not that you're really ever using bomb squigs because they have to be done after a normal move, but you also have bomb squigs. They can be led by Weird Boys, which really isn't the worst option because these guys' special ability is reroll charges. So you can do the 9-inch rerollable charge, which is actually kind of interesting. You can lead them with War Boss to make them hitting on 2s and also give them the crazy hitting power of the War Boss. You can give them a Pain Boy to regenerate some models. There's some interesting options that you have here. So I actually love the Breaker Boys. I think they're really good. I do think they're a little too expensive at 140. I think they should probably be closer to the 120 level, but I'm going to be playing with them and using them and trying to figure out exactly where they fit into the army now. So the Breaker Boys, awesome, cool new addition. Flat damage 3 is something the Orks desperately needed. Let's talk about the tank bustas. The tank bustas got a little bit of a facelift. Now they're not, I'm not going to say they're actually making the list now, but I got to be real with you. I'm close to wanting them in the list. They're still 120 points, which, if they were right at that 100-point level, though, I'd probably be including them. Now, it's entirely possible, after some playtesting, I might go back on what I'm saying and say they're amazing at 120 or they're dog shit at 120. It's entirely possible. But just off of our initial impressions, we got to check out what they have. Now, the knob, he can either choose 2 rocket pistols, which is hits on 5, strength 9, AP 1 or something, damage 3. Or he can bring the Smash Hammer, which is going to be the thing that we just saw in the Breaker Boys. It's going to be the 2 attacks, strength 6, AP 2, anti-monster vehicle 4 up, damage 3. So that's cool. I mean, the knob just having that damage 3 weapon is nice, I guess. Then you now have a new war gear option. One model in the squad can either take an extra rocket launcher, or he can take a pulse rockets. And I'll talk about the pulse rockets ability in just a moment. There was another change where now all the tank busters can actually take rocket launches. So it's no longer just 2 rocket launchers and then rocket pistols and a tank hammer or whatever it was. Now everyone can take the rocket launcher. That's awesome. That's just super, super nice. Makes you just have more rocket launches. Now what the pulse rocket does, the pulse rocket is a pretty interesting little unit ability. What it does is it gives us the ability to, at once per game in our shooting phase, add 1 to the AP and 1 to the strength. So now this unit, when it does this, is going to actually be able to slap quite a bit, which I gotta be honest, that's pretty cool. Like, that's pretty cool. Like, you can get your rockets up to strength 10, AP 3, damage 3. Now the tank busters, so they're still +1 to hit and +1 to wound against monsters and vehicles. So when you use this, you're gonna be wounding a lot of basically all transports on 2s. And you'll be wounding most medium tanks on 4s and 3s. And even heavy tanks, you'll be wounding them on 4s, which is, honestly, it gives you a little opportunity to really spike out. They're still likely just a little too expensive because they do die to a sneeze, and they're still orc shootings. They're hitting on 5s into everything else. But specifically, I'm thinking if I'm running Dread Mob, which I'm not a Dread Mob player. I think you guys know this about me. But if I am going to run them in Dread Mob, I'm going to run them with a shock attack gun mech. A big mech with shock attack gun. That's going to give them reroll 1s to hit. I'm probably going to give them the ignore cover enhancement. And now I can get them sustained hits 1 because I'm running them in freaking Dread Mob. This is suddenly a unit that is honestly pretty spicy. Like 43 rocket shots that are blast that I get to reroll 1s for, fishing for sustained hits. Not really fishing, it's just reroll hit rolls 1. But this is actually getting very, very spicy when I can get it up to strength 10. That can get me wounding Terminators on 2s, for example, with flat damage 3. Terminators don't like that. And if I'm going to AP 3 against Terminators, that's actually kind of spicy because even if they armor of contempt, then you know what I mean. So this is actually a really interesting unit, and I'm not certain exactly how it goes, but I'm going to be considering it. Then we have big changes to the Big Hunt. This is a amazing change. And then there's one subtle change that a lot of people miss. So here we go. First off, the Big Hunt detachment rule has been changed. At the start of your command phase, select 1 monster, vehicle, or character unit. Thank Gork. This is such a huge world of change because it used to previously be Warlord. And when it was Warlord, all your opponent literally had to do was just have their Warlord on the battlefield and too far away for you to interact. Then you don't get an army roll, assuming they didn't have like monsters and vehicles. Now that it's character, you can proc your abilities off of the character units, which makes this a much more usable army roll. It becomes very, very exciting. They also changed the strat, that one's even bigger. And if you read it now, it says until the end of, change it to until the end of the phase, your unit is eligible to charge in a turn in which it advanced or fell back. This is a huge change because previously this was locked to only if you were targeting your prey. Now you can just advance and fall back a unit every single turn. Orcs getting advance and charge outside of the Waaagh means that you can interact with your opponent outside of the Waaagh. I love this. It's a very big deal. Now, interestingly enough, this is just a little bit weird. In red type, they did also add, in addition, you can reroll charge rolls made for your unit, provided one of the targets of that charge is your prey, which is bizarre because that's the detachment rule anyway. So I don't. It was just a reprint. That red text means nothing, but the fact that there is a dot there that says in addition, what this does in fact mean is that now you get to advance in charge or fall back in charge, regardless of whether it's your prey or not, outside of the Waaagh. That's awesome. I freaking love it. It's also really nice if you're tied up and you want to fall back in charge in your Waaagh. So there's lots of options here. The Big Hunt got a big glow up. I'm not sure if this makes the Big Hunt like, man, you got to be careful when you say that. The Big Hunts. I'm not sure if this makes it like Warhorde like competitive level, but it gives a huge boost that desperately needed. And then lastly, guys, this is just really big. AOC is heavily nerfed now. Now our AP2 weapons are generally going to be AP2, and our AP1 weapons are generally going to be AP1 because Armor of Contempt, which is all throughout the meta, whether it's Space Marines, Votan using their Void Armor or whatever, Grey Knights using their version of it, Chaos Space Marines using their there's tons of versions of it. Now, when they use the stratagem, it only applies for a single activation, not for the rest of the phase. Personally, I think the change is dumb, and I hate it. I don't think it's good. But screw it. As far as Orcs are concerned, we are pumped about it. So, this is a really big deal because now suddenly our boys AP1 is actually AP1. Our snag as AP1 is going to be AP1. So, be on the lookout for our normal battle line units just honestly being even better, and they were already pretty good. So, Orcs, the boys, we're in a good spot. I'm pumped up. I hope you're pumped up. Let me know down in the comments below what changes you're most excited about and what you're going to be doing to your army list. If you guys want some feedback on the way the army lists are going, make sure you jump in the members only section of the Discord because we've been cooking all freaking day and there is a lot to go through as far as how do we build our orcs now. So with that, I'm going to sign off. I'll be back with lots more stuff. I got 3 videos out today. I'm working like a madman to bring you guys all the content I possibly can, and I hope you guys are enjoying it. Until next time, crump on. Talk to you tomorrow. Bye-bye.